You started? Okay, all right.
You know what time it is, y'all. It's back at it again. Allegedly Credible. And this is your host, Mel Supremo, with your host.
That was beautiful. That was so perfect.
Long time no see.
It's your girl, Lady Faye, and I'm here with Mellow Supremo, and we are two friends giving you advice based on our personal experience. Today on Allegedly Credible, we are talking with Caroline Adams, also known as Conscious Caro, and she's going to be talking to us about changing your relationship with food. Let's get it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Allegedly Credible. I'm Danielle, aka Lady Faye, and this is
Mellow Supremo.
And go ahead. I'm sorry. Do you?
Or you can just call me Mel.
Keep it for me.
That's also my name.
It's been a minute. I'm sorry, y'all. So we are just two friends, and we're giving you advice based on our life experience, what we've been through life this far. And we always give you this disclaimer. Our thoughts and views are constantly evolving. We are not experts, nor do we claim to be, but we will have experts on the show. And we won't always agree with each other, and that's totally okay. And we're just hoping you guys take whatever you need and incorporate it in your lives, and whatever you don't need, you can throw it away. You're free to think however you want. We don't really care. We care, but we don't.
Right. Speaking of experts, who am I sitting next to, Danielle?
So, first of all, I'm so happy that she's here.
I'm so happy to be here.
I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about my friend here, Caroline Adams. Hi. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, Caroline.
I met her at the gym that I go to. It's called Easy Fit Transformation Center.
Yeah.
She originally started as a person she worked out there, and I would just say hi, whatever. Yeah. We didn't really talk too much. And then she became a coach. And when I tell you she became a coach, I felt like she found her life calling. Cause she would bust my butt every day, fixing my form and everything like that, pushing me, but she's also been extremely supportive. So to give you a little bit of a background on Caroline, she is a holistic wellness and fitness. She's a holistic wellness / fitness coach, yoga teacher, and nutritional coach. It is a mouthful, and nutritional coach. I'm going to let Caroline introduce herself a little bit more.
So I'm Caroline. Some call me Caro. I'm also known as Conscious Caro. I am a fitness coach. I teach yoga. And one of the biggest things I promote and advocate for is holistic healing. And I take that on the elements of mind, body, and spirit. So not just nutrition, but also within realms of meditation and fitness and yoga and how it can echo. But most importantly, in nutritional purposes and food purposes, I run holistic programs where I teach you how to eat to your wholest form, taking out all processed chemicals, and kind of teach people how to eat and also do it in affordable manners. Because now that the healthy trend has happened, I think that a lot of people, we've overpriced it and capitalized it. And, as someone who grew up with a lot of struggle for us, it was, how do you get your healthy, all your nutrition in, and do it affordably. And so that's kind of where I rest and lie.
Yeah.
Yay. And I just realized I never even introduced the topic, but we're going to do it now. Okay. So our topic is, healing from within.
Yes, guys.
Healing from within, and we're changing our relationship with food. So since Caroline introduced herself, now you can see where it ties into what we're talking about.
Talking to a random
yes.
Someone we pulled off the street.
And as you can tell, we're definitely in a different venue. So
yes. And first of all, we just want to say we're here at Good Life Organic Kitchen. This was Mel's spot during her pregnancy.
It's my spot for everything.
Yes.
But it became a key spot when I was pregnant.
Yes. And this helped her stay very balanced and very healthy during her delivery and just everything like that. So,
especially when you're in an alternative diet. So
yes. And as you guys know from a past episode we did, Mel wanted to have a home birth, but due to medical issues,
it was denied really quickly.
Yes, but guys, go check that episode out. That's back in season 2. That's season 2?
Yeah.
season 2 or season 3, but y'all know.
It's on one of the seasons, so
it's on
you go find it for us and get back to us later.
So I'm going to dive into this topic, change your relationship with food. Okay, so obviously we as humans, we need food to survive, but as years pass, especially in Western culture, we are very, very big on overindulgence.
Oh, yes.
So I did some research because that's what I like to do. And according to worldobesity.org, the U.S. ranks number 14 in the highest obesity rates by 36.47%. Nationally, that's 41.9% of adults are obese, and Black adults have the highest rates by 49.9%.
You know why, though?
Why?
Because you're not allowed to leave the table until your food's done.
That is true.
You better not leave that table. You will sleep on that table. Until that plate is empty.
They do teach that. And I was going to ask anybody, does this data shock you at all? For me, it doesn't shock me.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me for a second, especially as someone who has traveled to like a lot of other places in the world and then indulged in nutrition on their level, like not for a second. And I think a lot of my holistic programs are a little like, screw the American food system. So no, I'm not surprised for a second.
No, it doesn't really shock me because if you think about it, like just from a kid growing up with the advertisements that we grew up with, it's like there's always like some type of food commercial. If you're a kid, you automatically see all the sugary cereals. I'm going to tell you, back in the day, I used to love me some Fruit Loops.
Bro.
I could tear up some Fruit Loops.
Okay.
Gushers.
Like I literally went to someone's house for an inspection and they had a bowl of just Gushers and other types of snacks. I was like, yo, is that for me?
and when you really think about it, you're being like, push this since you're at a young age. And the first thing you do is like, ask your parents, can we get this? Can we get this? Can I get that? I want this. And then I didn't realize until I started doing research, like I had really bad asthma for years and I'm here gobbling up these, Fruity Pebbles. And my mom said while she was pregnant with me, all she could eat was Fruity Pebbles and Fruit Loops. And I'm here eating all this stuff. And I found out later the dyes that are in the food are linked to high asthma rates in kids.
The dye itself. Not even the food. It's just the dye to put the food to make it look appealing.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
And that's where a lot of my holistic journey began. So like besides spiritually healing myself, it was also a lot of my medical conditions. So like I grew up as a severe asthmatic and I was in the hospital right over here at Red Bank. I was in the hospital like every 2 weeks and I was really struggling to the extent where I had to like move up north into Maine for a few years to recoup my lungs.
Wow.
So my parents were very like, you know what, screw the steroids because they're Band-Aids, they're temporary.
Yeah.
How can we holistically begin to improve this? And I was gifted with a mom who's been a vegetarian since she was like 5 years old. And really health conscious parents who were really into like the hippie dippy scene before it was
awesome.
big.
Yeah.
So they really dove into like what nutrition would look like. And that's one of the biggest things I had noticed is I was literally able to heal my lungs and my asthma amongst other things too. Right. So like fatigueness, once you start eating holistic, you don't realize how much food's supposed to give you energy, right?
Make you sleepy.
Which is bizarre because in the US, that's opposite. You eat and you're done. You go into a food coma. It's opposite. And so that's really what launched me and opened the door for me. And then I think what opened like the second door for me was when, especially like now, like, okay, veganism is healthy. The keto's healthy. This is healthy. And the way that America has begun to capture that and then capitalize on it, right? So for example, I think in my seminar, one of the biggest things I talk about is, you can have a bag of banana chips that says it's 10 calories and it's got whatever grams of protein and all this source, right? Or you could just eat the banana, right?
Right.
Because we've become obsessive with calorie counting to such an extreme that we're going for the lowest calories, not getting enough because we're going too low, but we're also eating things that are processed. So when you eat something, your body is going to break it down. When your body breaks it down, it takes out everything it needs. So if I eat an orange, right, it's going to take out the vitamin C and my body is going to utilize vitamin C and then decompose.
Yeah.
Right. When you eat something processed, something man-made chemical that your body cannot register, it's going to store it in fat cells because it does not know where the hell to put it. Right. So when America is launching, healthy this, healthy that, right? Like all these cereals that have 10 grams of added sugar, and that's healthy because it's low calorie and high protein.
Right.
Why not just eat, natural foods that have all of those things, right? And then we've extracted ourselves. We're so obsessed with calories and proteins and all these things. We forgot about mixes of veggies. So, veganism is great, and all these new diets are really interesting in the way that they work for certain people. But we've stepped away from this really necessity in nutrition where, like for me, when I eat vegetables, I make like 3 vegetables at a time. Right. That way I'm dabbling into a bunch of different nutritions. Like spinach has iron. Like it's more than just, we've launched where like food is supposed to, be your physique, right?
Right.
Like now, especially, and bodybuilders are, the kings and queens of this, eat this and get this protein and do this. And we've begun to step away of what it can do for our brain function, right? Especially your immunity. So being holistic and eating holistically, the idea is for me to empower my entire body.
Not just one aspect
when my
of it.
immune system is not functioning to its fullest, it is then going to damage the entire body. So, it's crazy. There's a doctor who does a study, and it's 70 to 80% of doctor visits are linked to stress.
Absolutely.
All linked to stress. But instead, we will treat it with a Band-Aid and create symptom, right? We hit the symptom. We never hit the nucleus. Right. And by conquering the stress gland, your stress hormones, and when it's shooting out cortisol and adrenaline and it's damaging the entire body, we've forgotten that nutrition, like food, was made to heal.
Yeah, literally.
Like we have completely stepped away from that. We have become so obsessive in carbs and calories and this and that. And once you begin to eat what is good for your body and makes you feel good, you step into this whole realm of your nutrition. Nobody's nutrition looks the same. If somebody's going to give you a diet and say it's going to work for you, and you, that's a lie.
It's not right.
That's not true.
That's a lie.
That's not true. I learned that. That's not true.
And then when you were talking about the whole banana chips versus eating the banana, a lot of it also comes down with the convenience. And I think that America itself thrives on like, well, how can I put this out so it can be convenient for everybody and anybody to get? But you also take out the necessities in order to function in life.
Right. Yeah. And then on top of that, we're a fast-paced society. So it's like, okay, go this, go 9-to-5 job, go here. Now you got to go this. Now you got to do that. So it's like, okay, quick,
time for prep.
Who has time to do that?
I don't.
This is quick. This is easy. Let's do that. And I think that sometimes when you get so caught up in that, you're putting focus on everything else but yourself.
Literally, nothing is really all that serious.
Right. And
it's not worth it.
And like the way everything is advertised, and even in like your friends and family, like even if you're trying to eat healthy or, whatever, like, oh, why are you eating that rabbit food? Why are you eating this? Why are you eating that?
Because I can live another day.
And I always think to myself, well, okay, aren't you the one with high blood pressure? Aren't you the one with diabetes?
Talk about it, Danielle.
Aren't you the one with like all these health issues? But I'm the one that, like, when you look at my blood work, like everything's good. And I don't try to look down on people because that's not the way I try to do it. I just try to educate. It's just more of, okay, I was where you were, but I was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way I feel.
This
I don't
isn't
like
normal to feel this way.
I feel tired. I remember when I struggled to get out of bed. I remember I didn't like to do anything or whatever. But when I started to be like, okay, I need to like really revamp my diet. I need to really look at like, what am I eating? Let me actually learn some stuff, because doctors don't tell you a lot. They just say you got to lose weight, but they don't really tell you like,
they're not going to give you the missing puzzle piece, because then they don't get paid.
Exactly. That's the thing, is that these pharmaceutical companies and these doctors, unfortunately, we've, and in America, what I've seen through doctors and being someone who's really, really sick and struggling, they want to continue to make money. Okay. So whatever they prescribe you is going to have another effect, right? Then it is going to mean you get another prescription, and it is going to keep building and building and building. Now, when I go to the doctor, they ask me what prescriptions I have. I say none. I don't take anything. What do you mean? No. And they look at me like, what do you mean? Nothing? Not a single thing? And it's like, no, did you know that like food, like the earth grows food for you to use to heal your body, right? And that there's natural alternatives. So like what's crazy to me, and one big thing that I use in my nutrition programs is the example of emergency. So you're feeling sick and everybody rushes to go get emergency packets.
Right.
There is so much. The reason why it tastes pretty well is because there's so much sugar added in.
Yeah.
Sugar attracts bacteria. Why would you take that if you were trying to kill infection or bacteria?
Like,
that makes no sense. Instead, you could use an alternative like camu, which is one of the highest sources of vitamin C there is out there as a superfood.
And baobab.
Yeah. And even the way vitamin C now is sold. So like I remember taking a vitamin C and I was like, wow, this tastes like orange. Right? And I was like, this isn't right? Because it's supposed to taste like a pumpkin seed almost. Right? And so the manipulation where we have begun to, and the way the marketing is done is just extraordinary and beautiful. And I really give America credit on it.
Everyone the flowers where it's due.
Everyone fooled.
Yeah,
and you know what's crazy is like we have food stores, and when I walk in the food store, I go down 2 aisles. I go in the produce section. I go in my protein section. Then I go to
natural.
The last one where it's all like eggs, yogurts, and probiotics and things like that. That's it. Right. You do not need to be going up and down because the up and down.
You want to shop the outskirts of the store.
Yeah. The middle, that is all processed, right? But then you go down it and it's like new healthy. New this, new that. And then you look at the labels and it's insane. I remember one time I went to Costco and I have an addiction to dried mango. Severely.
Right. You're not the only one.
It's so good. It's so bad.
I'm even allergic to mangoes. I'm like, you know what?
I have a deep love. I have a deep love for dried mango. Yeah. So I go to Costco because it's the biggest bag. I go to Costco, I buy one and I'm like, why does this shit taste like cane sugar? Like, what's going on here? And I look at the back and it has preservatives.
You see all those ingredients? It's not simple at all. It should just say dried mango.
Mango, right? Exactly. Or even rice, right? Like rice is another big one. They bleach rice, which is insane, right? Or garlic. We always shoot for the cleaner looking things. And garlic, when it's so white like that, it's usually imported from China where they have to bleach it because it's grown in such disgust. They end up bleaching it. You want to look at where the product is also coming from. Right? So I know the garlic looks beautiful when it's white and shiny, but no, I'm like, give me the dirtiest vegetable you got.
I'm glad you mentioned that point because I remember when I was in school, I was taking organic chem. Shout out to Dr. Vogt. But anyway, she told me, she said, do not, the garlics that come in the pack. Yeah. She said, never eat those things because like what you said, it's not real and it's just it's barely even garlic. It's like paper.
Yeah. Or when I had hosted my seminar you came to, Danielle, I remember everyone's face. I was like, does anyone here know the difference between farm raised salmon and wild caught salmon? And everyone was like, right? I was like, there's a difference.
There's a difference.
I was like, the difference is when it's farm raised, it's not in its natural habitat. It's also, because it's not in its natural habitat, it doesn't, it's survival of the fittest. It's not going to survive. So we're pumping it with antibiotics and other things in this water. It's also swimming in its own waste and cycle, and it's gross.
They actually have like a net sectioned out in the ocean, and it's just like you see them swimming on top of each other. Like, don't even look like, maybe you want to, but
not before bed.
Look at how they make tilapia.
Oh, it's so gross. But and so the reason, and they're like, well, it looks the same in the store. It looks the same in the store because what they do is they take elements from petroleum oil, and they're injecting it into these farm raised fish so that they're pink, because when they are caught, they are grayscaled. We are so unconscious of what we are eating. And a lot of it, you're right, is the convenience. When people are like, when they do my holistic program, they're like, Caroline, I can't do this because I don't have time and I don't have this. And
then you don't care about your health.
Exactly. This is an investment in yourself on every freaking aspect. And I cannot express that enough. If you have time to spend an hour on social media, you got time to do an hour meal prep. I'm sorry. And I have been to the point where I've worked 3 jobs and a master's degree. And I have still made time. You will always make time because it's an investment in yourself, even if that means waking up an hour earlier. And I don't know if anyone told y'all, but like fruit is a snack.
Yep.
Right? Like protein, it's
fruit.
And so are nuts and so are sunflower seeds. We've like lost conscious to think like, and again, it's this obsession with calories and carbs and proteins. You know what my snack on the run is? It's a banana, it's an apple, or it's like a bag of sunflower seeds.
Literally. So I went from here. No, I think I was in the next town over. I went from Jersey all the way to Florida, or at least North Carolina. only thing I packed was some water and 2 bundles of bananas. And I didn't stop for coffee. Like the banana itself, the potassium, I was going to say the petroleum. Maybe there is petroleum in bananas. No, stop. But the potassium gave me enough energy for me and my now husband to get across the country. So you don't need to cling to that coffee, y'all.
Right.
Loose stuff.
And I actually was going to bring something up about the nuts. So I remember my doctors telling me to stay away from nuts because of the calorie intake and this, whatever.
That's weird.
So I had stopped eating nuts for a good while because I'm like, oh man, I stopped eating peanut butter. I stopped eating like any nut butters, whatever. Cause they're like, oh, so much, da, da, da. But then when I started like really paying attention into like, eating healthier and just certain things. When I started incorporating nuts back into my diet and eating like the butters and all this stuff, which I have to make sure there's no salt added, no sugar added. Like I look for the
clean
most natural,
ingredients.
clean stuff. I have to say that it helped me get full faster. Like I literally was just like, okay, cool. I can have
your portions are smaller.
Yes, I can have a handful of nuts with a banana or something like, or an apple or some fruit, and I'll be good. Like for
it's a funny thing too on convenience and that concept is how quick we eat.
Right.
So not just do we expect this food to like snap of the finger, time travel right in front of me immediately. But we also have this conception that we need to eat fast because we are always on the run, right? And and I'm guilty of it. That's a really bad habit I had to unbreak. Where I was in El Salvador and me and my friends had made a pact that we were going to take like 15 bites or 15 chews for every bite, and we did. And let me tell you, I was only able to eat like 1/4 of that.
Conscious eating.
1/4,
right?
And that is convenience. But you know what? Half the time I'm like driving with my knee on the wheel and I'm eating because I'm rushing from work, one job to the other.
But you're not even thinking about
it. Is like the chaos. And and a part of it is this culture as well.
Yeah.
Right. This culture is made for you to wake up, work, and have multiple jobs and constantly be playing catch up where it almost puts your conscious to sleep. Right.
Yeah.
And it's when you begin to wake up and realize
like
all of
autopilot.
this. Yeah. And it's crazy. Right. I lived in Florida, and when I lived in Florida, what I would do is I was a broke ass college student. I would go across the street. I would go to the farmer's market. They would have it twice a week. I would go to the farmer's market where it's all locally grown. They're growing everything. I would spend $25 on all my groceries for the week. $25.
And you had enough
from these farmers. Yeah. And I would meal prep and have plenty. Yeah.
Sorry. Mel loves to save some money, so when she heard that, she's like,
well, wait. Because we go to the farmer's market here.
And it don't look like that, right?
$125. Yeah. But you don't even make it to the week.
Yeah. Amazing, right? And I was just visiting the same town that I was living in at the point in Florida. And I went through again, and my friend had spent like $15 on like 7 different vegetables. And I was just so impressed, And it's crazy because it's so bizarre to me that we're even capitalizing food because that is survival.
Right.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah. Right.
Like that's really
think about that.
The character of the people that are in power today is like, you know what? I think we can go a little bit further, Bob. Let's go after the food.
Or you know what? And it's crazy because in like other countries, like you walk around and there's food growing on the trees left and right. You know what I mean?
Just picking.
I always said, I'm like, if we have issues with homeless communities, instead of like putting all these stupid signs and all these man-made things, why don't we have an orange tree on every single one so that they can give and things like that, right?
Who's making money off that?
Nobody.
Who's making money off that?
Nobody.
In like Miami, you go, going down the boulevard, they literally have date trees all the way down the thing. And this was when I was pregnant, because I know that if you eat dates, it can actually induce your labor.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They had trucks like garbage trucks to shake and clean off the dates off the street. I was just like, these things are literally just sitting here. I can take a whole bag and smuggle them back home.
Yeah, and even now, you know what? And we are so distant from really investing and making it all about convenience. Mm-hmm. Like we forget that like we used to grow our own food.
I'm still learning.
My grandma, so I grew up, my grandma had like, gardens So she had vegetables in her garden. She had fruit in her garden. She had, we had like peach trees, apple trees, like all this stuff. So during the summer, when I would spend time at my grandma's house, that's what we did. Like, she's get mad at me because the tomatoes, I always wanted to pick the unripe tomatoes because they were cute to me. But she was like, no, then she taught me like, okay, this is how you know it's ripe. This is how it is. Now, I don't have a green thumb. I kill everything.
It's a fact.
But my cousin Dawn, she picked up that skill and she has a beautiful city garden. Like she will
all in her front yard.
Everything's fresh. Everything's, whatever. So that's something I am working on.
Did you notice
incorporating in my life because I would love to have a fresh garden?
Did you notice like even when you grow at home versus in the grocery store,
it tastes different.
It looks different. Like my grandfather right now in Florida, just thriving, has a lemon tree and the lemons look like oranges.
And they have so much juice in them, like where they're almost soft and then you open it, it's overwhelming how much there is.
Right.
Yeah, like we do the same thing in Florida. We pick all of our lemons and we make lemon juice. And you know what's so funny is this whole idea about growing your own food and the difference in the taste. I'll never forget, like I was traveling. I think I was in Europe and I had soda and I never would drink soda. And I was like, let me try it here.
Soda's different too.
It's completely different. Right?
It's not sweet.
No, there's not added sugar. It's real sugar. And it's still not something you should drink every day, but it is not nearly what it is here. And even like, when I lived in Greece, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner was like olive oil, bread, grape leaves, falafel. Like, what I'm saying? I was losing weight. I was like, what is going on here?
What you get before you get your entree here.
And I'm losing weight. I'm losing weight and I'm eating a lot of bread. Of bread, a lot of olive oil. And I'm losing weight and it's crazy. And I've watched my inflammation go down. I've watched my injuries resolve itself, get better. And I just have seen it where it's the value system on health is so altered and distorted in this country compared to most. It's beyond belief.
Right.
And that's why I do love to travel because then, you learn a lot. Like, for example, like turmeric's a great supplement to take, but now that it's become the hot thing on the block, we forgot to even figure out where it's being sourced from. So one thing I learned when I was in India, and I was at the Ayurvedic farms was the way that it was being sourced and how it should be sourced. And he was explaining, you really should be picking this and using it as quick as you can. That shelf life should not be. And that's the same thing with vitamin C. That should be changed out every 30 days.
Right.
We've also stepped away. Most countries have preventatives, right? Before the explosion happens and suddenly you have inflammation or you have an issue. Most countries are giving you a nutrition where you were able to prevent a lot of things. Right?
Not here.
No.
Not where the money's at.
Not here. And what's funny is a lot of other countries, like, they're not obsessed with this whole, like, taking vitamins, taking supplements. Like, we want the easy way out so bad that we forget that, like, maybe, like, for example, like, one thing I struggled with was mental health and anxiety. And one thing I have done is really holistically improve that. And instead of, taking a Xanax and putting myself in la la land like these doctors want you to do, I've really altered it where I take supplements every day, but they're so natural. Right. Instead of like, or my favorite is when they give you a supplement and they're like, it's a gummy bear. And you're like, that doesn't defeat the whole damn purpose. Right. I know it tastes good, but like, right? Like when I open my bottle for my supplements, it smells like it kind of smells like Whole Foods, right? Right. A little overwhelming, right? And or like even like getting so like that should be a habit of what you're like. It's so crazy. We have so many habits and so many good things, but the one that we don't have is like, and that's my favorite habit is learning more. I want to I really do go through a rabbit hole and I become so into it and so obsessive over these things. But I want to know like. Right now, like one area I don't lack in, but I haven't fully explored is like herbalism, like, and learning herbs and whatever. And so now I've become, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother area that I can add to my life. Right. So in my free time, I'm going like down the road to the store and I'm going through the herbs and I'm looking at their books and I'm reading and I'm researching and I'm training my brain and I'm watching it like heal me. And then I'm trying to do it so it helps others and really get in tune with that. And we have lost what it means to, right, and it's crazy because there's like all this like self-love going on.
But no one's really actually doing that.
And you know what?
There's more like self-soothe.
And there's a big difference between between self-love and self-value.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things. Like love and value are two beautiful things, but they are very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And, you know, like being a yogi and being someone who was really into veganism for a long time, like I love the idea of like not eating animals and whatever. And then, you know, all of a sudden veganism got really big and then it exploded into, let me give you processed meat and fake meat and this
Impossible
and that.
burgers, Beyond Burgers. I was like, what is this? Like, yes, it's a pea protein, but where is this coming from? This is not from a pea or the whole pea.
Yo,
like
the skin. That is like my biggest pet peeve. I cannot stand I do not like fake meat. Either you don't eat meat or you, like, you know, I don't mind if you have like a black bean burger because it's black bean. Okay. It's black bean burger. But when you're like trying to make a vegetable or whatever taste like sausage, that just doesn't make sense to me. I'm just like, sausage. I don't want that. Then I'm like, what are you doing to it? It just makes me not want to eat it at all. Like, I'm just like, no, I'm good.
And it comes with its own other problems.
Yeah, it comes with a whole different
with all the additives and preservatives and the, you know, unauthentic of it. It comes like your body's trying to process it, but doesn't know how to function with this. I assume. I mean, I'm not the expert.
You're exactly right. So as I said before, your body is taking it in, it eats something and it registers it. So like, again, like I said, you know, you eat an orange, it takes out the vitamin C and it utilizes it. Mm-hmm. Then it, you know, it processes and that's how it works, right? Mm-hmm. When you eat something that is not natural, your body doesn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So what it's doing is it's storing it in fat cells. Mm-hmm. We've also become so obsessed with this idea that eat less and you will get more fit.
No, eat less, you're going to die.
Right? We don't eat enough because we're so obsessed with sticking in this calorie deficit. And you know, and listen, there's a lot of science to it and there's a lot of great things into it, but there's also other elements of our health that we have let go. I stopped counting my calories a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I felt it was, first of all, very damaging for me.
It is.
I was always fluffy. Mm-hmm. Like I was like fluffy and I was hitting a lot of plateaus. And then I just started saying, you know what? And this is what I build a lot of my holistic nutrition on. Your body knows when to tell you things.
That's true.
You are dehydrated. You get a headache. You ate something bad. You have a stomach ache. You are sick. You know. So if I'm hungry, my body will tell me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We become, like, I can't stand when I see a bodybuilder next to me and they're like, oh, I gotta eat 500 more calories because, you know, I gotta hit 5,000 today.
But you really don't. You're full.
Like, yeah. What? Like, and people are like, what do you mean you don't eat breakfast? I skip breakfast because my body doesn't feel like it needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, I actually hydrate myself because for 8 hours, I just dehydrated myself.
Right. Yeah. And you know, they even say that, that you're not supposed to feel that hunger feeling. 9 times out of 10, when you do feel it, your deep pit, it's more because you're dehydrated and it's better to wake up to have at least 2 8-ounce glasses of water. Mm-hmm. If you can really push it to 4, that's even better. Yeah. And then you don't eat until 12. And then you start eating your more fibrous.
That's what I do. Around like 11 or 12, like that's my first meal.
Yeah.
And your first meal, I cannot express this enough, is the most important. Right. You just went into a fast.
Literally.
You were sleeping, your body was just restoring, you went into a fast. And that's another thing too. I've noticed with holistic healing programs that I've done is the biggest thing people tell me is sleep.
Right.
Sleep is the biggest thing that changes.
You gotta recover.
Because exactly, when you sleep, it is your recovery. I'm glad if you can get 10 hours of sleep, but if you're still waking up fatigued, then you are not eating right. Right. And you're processing your food right. Because what's happening is your sleep, that is, you are sleeping, but your body is going through everything you endured in that day. Mm-hmm. So if you're not eating well, it's going to be like, it's going to be one person on a shift with 20 people in the store.
Literally story of my life.
Right. You know? And that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I want to touch about like the not eating thing. So I remember when I first started working out, like maybe like 5-6 years ago, and they would tell me like, oh, you got to make sure you eat like this before you work out. I would physically get sick. Like I would eat before my workout, be working out, get so sick to the point I'm like, I couldn't even finish my workout. When I stopped eating before my workout and I like would work out and get it done, and then like I actually still don't need to eat after my workout. Like I can wait a few hours.
But talk about when you actually started working out.
When I actually started like
what time of day?
I work out first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that.
Right.
So for me personally, it was just like, well, at that time when they first were like telling me like, oh, you got to eat before you work out, I was working out around 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
But even then it was just like, okay, cool. When I decided, I was like, okay, I can't eat before I work out. Like, it's going to make me sick. That's when I was like, okay. And then I noticed a whole difference in my body. Like it seemed like my body just clicked. Like, okay, cool. You don't need to eat before you work out. And it's just like they had it like so stuck in my head, like, oh, you got to eat before you work out.
It's really learning your body.
Yeah,
because it works for certain people.
Because I need to eat before I work out because I won't be able to last. Like I'll get lightheaded and maybe like my anemia will start kicking in.
Right,
yeah. Why not?
Or like I have a couple clients who have diabetes. What they'll do on the way is they'll eat like dried fruit or something like that with sugar, right? So it's really, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what's crazy? So my holistic program gives you a list of what you can and cannot eat. Right. And the can is hefty. It's like 3 pages long and it's everything that is natural, right?
So that's the can.
It's all fruits. It's all vegetables and, healthy, good proteins and things like that. The cannots is anything that's processed or man-made.
Right.
And I remember people being like, well, what do I do for macros? And I was like, that's not it. I was like, that is not it. It's not obsessing over weighing your food and calorie counting and doing all those things. And that's not what it's about. It's about reading your body and registering your body. So for example, like I don't do well when I'm eating a tremendous amount of carbs.
Right.
That's just how my body works. I fluff up, I gain body fat. For some reason, my body just doesn't work well with them. I work good with natural carbs. So like sweet potatoes and things like that, where like certain breads will bother me, pastas will bother me and whatnot. And so that's my own scientific research, And you have to do that investment in yourself. And again, fitness is not like snap my finger, working out, eating 1,400 calories a day, and I'm going to be, on the show. Like, like that's not how it works. It is a constant quest within yourself. Your body is also constantly evolving and changing. When I was a competitive athlete, I could have eaten a whole pizza to myself before and after practice, and I still was shredded because I was burning so much my body couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to the point where like we're seeking, it's the answer thing. Like, okay, Coach Caro, like how many calories should I be eating? How much protein should I be eating? Protein is going to break down different for everybody. To be honest, I don't even obsess with it. People are like, how many grams of protein do you get in? Do you want to know the truth? I don't count it.
Like,
I don't count it. When I feel I'm low on protein, then I know to add a little bit more.
Right.
And I just am conscious. Like when I go somewhere to eat, I really think to myself, okay, do I have vegetables and protein? Those are my 2 concerns, and maybe a healthy carb in there. Because that's how my body will thrive.
Right.
I eat salad for lunch every day because I like love salad, but also because I know the nutrition in it and I bulk it up to have great things in it. So whether it's like sunflower seeds, chia seeds, and I just make it nutritiously packed.
And healthy food does not have to be boring. Believe me when I tell you that healthy food does not have to be boring. You can if you know how to season, then you good. Like that's all you really need to know how to do. But I was thinking about something you just said. When I was a kid, I've struggled with my weight my whole life. Like that was just something like I just blew up, and I just remember eating everything that everybody else was eating, but I was the one in my family that I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where they're like, oh, you can't, they would take food away from me. They would like, I remember being threatened to have my mouth wired shut, like, cause they felt like I was eating too much, but I'm just like, I'm eating what everybody else is eating. Like, I don't buy the food y'all do, like, whatever. I remember I was on Slim Fast in 3rd grade. I remember being on those Slim Fast.
Slim Fast is actually tastes good.
It's disgusting. I hated it. But
it was like,
if you look at the shakes and stuff and you actually read it now, I'm like, yo, I was killing myself. Yeah. And the craziest part is I've been on like almost every single possible diet you can think of, Nutrisystem, all that processed stuff, like everything that you bought. And when I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually do more research about what I can actually eat, what's actually like good for you with all the additives, without all other stuff. That's when I saw the most results. And I also saw the most results when I stopped counting. Like, as you say, like counting the calories, counting all the stuff. I saw the most results when I stopped counting, when I stopped weighing my food, when I stopped being obsessive. Like even when, like with Easy, they do the challenges and stuff and they have the meal programs and stuff. And at first, when I first joined, it was perfect doing those.
Yeah, I did one of them. I lost 7.5% body fat and I gained 7.5 pounds of muscle in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And it was perfect when I first started. But then after a certain point, I'm like, okay, my body's not reacting the way that I would like it to, you know? And then I became obsessive, like, oh, why is my body not doing this? Why is my body not doing that? Whatever. And then I said, I had to take a step back and just be like, you know what, Danielle? First of all, you're doing great. Like, and the other thing I had to say to myself was, it's not even just about losing weight. It's about feeling good. Mm-hmm. It's about feeling fueled. It's also about feeling stronger. Mm-hmm. So when I decided to just focus on like feeling good, making sure I'm strong, whatever, that's when like the weight on the scale didn't mean that much to me anymore. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm going in. And it was just me creating the habit of going every day, like, you know, working out every day, me just always constantly doing more research on like, well, I'm going to start incorporating this into my diet. I'm going to start incorporating this in the diet. That's when I started to see the best results for me.
You know, what's really interesting. And one thing like I've noticed about America versus other countries is America is a melting pot. Mm-hmm. We are all from all other parts of the world, right? That's so genetically, we are all made up differently, right? So certain foods and certain cultures are echoed because that's what their climate, right? That's survival.
Right.
And so now in America, we expect one diet to fit everyone's needs, which is bizarre. Right. And like for me, I can't get my damn hair to stop growing. So I'm like, don't give me anything that's got biotin in it. Right. I'm like, I can't get it to stop growing. Right. But that's for me, where I've had friends who really struggle with like hair growth and like hair fullness and whatnot. And so, you know, it's really, it's a scientific research into yourself and your body. Right. Or I notice like when I eat certain ways and my asthma acts up, my cardio is shit, man. Like I can't breathe. Yeah. And, you know, and even again, it's a lot of, America, and the capitalization and the way that we have looked at food, but it's also this, I think social media has just spiked it, right?
Yeah, right.
Because my newsfeed is a lot of nutrition and motivation and that's what it is, right? I've kind of gone on this thing where I'm like, I don't follow you unless you add value to my life.
Right.
I like that. That's how I am. Right. If you don't add value, then hell no. But you know, we've become so obsessive with like if I hear one more time, well, TikTok said chia seeds would make me skinny. I'm like, what? Oh my God. I'm like, that's
not how it works. What TikTok said, like,
or those juices that they have, those juices where it's like, add coffee with lemon and stir it up and drink that.
That's going to make you lose 50 pounds in 10 minutes.
How does it work for your body? How does it work for you? Right. Because it's different for everybody. Right. You know, and one thing I noticed is, you know, I was raised by a single mom and, you know, and we had a lot of financial insecurity in my home. And in order to feed your family now with financial insecurity, it becomes very processed, right? And you look like, you know, listen, dollar store pajamas, like they ain't no joke. They last, man. Okay. And, you know, going to Aldi's and doing that food shopping.
Aldi's is the shit.
But if you go once you go in between, and it is a matter of survival and saving money. And so it's really sickening and it's really manipulative and gross how like we have, manipulated people in survival mode. Yeah. Right. You know, however, my biggest point in that is the way we are fed as children. As a child, you are developing. Right. So those are the key stages, right? So when I was a nanny, I remember I had one baby and he was vegan and he was actual real vegan, not processed. Always he would want an avocado. Right. An avocado and he'd be licking the skin. Right. Like he was like that. And this kid would be like rock climbing the wall and like doing all things like that. And then I'd watch another kid who had allergies and all these things, but they're eating a lot of processed stuff. And so I think that's the worst because I think the worst processed food is what is in children's food. Yeah. The fact that we're like, oh, here's, you know, a Sunny D cup, you know, here's Sunny D, vitamin C, healthy. No,
it's really not. And I honestly do believe you're saying that because when I was growing up, I'm thinking about the foods that we ate and like the foods that were pushed down my throat of what we need to eat. And like, I feel like that has such a impact on my weight and everything like that now it's like when I decided I'm breaking these habits, it's hard because it's like that was 20 plus years of eating processed crap. So now I have to retrain my body to know, because I remember when I first started eating healthy, like when I first started eating like organic fruits and stuff, my body did not like it. My body was like, what is this that you're putting into me?
Oh, really? It rejected it?
Yeah, it did. Apples used to make me throw up. Like certain things used to make me sick. But I was so determined. I'm like, I'm going to eat these whole foods. And then after a certain point, I did some research and it was like, something about your gut health doesn't know what to do with it. Also like, when your body is so used to eating like the preservatives and stuff and you start putting natural stuff in it, your body's automatically like, what are we doing? Like it kind of has to detox itself.
Every time I leave America, I'm like in a nice little detox. I'm like,
it's like you have to detox yourself. So it's like sometimes you might not be able to just jump into like the new new like, but sometimes you do have to detox. And I had to get through that detox phase. And then once I got through the detox phase, now I can eat I can eat fruits and vegetables to save my life. Cause I used to be allergic to celery. Celery used to break me out so bad, but now I can eat celery like
what's so funny
nobody's business.
One thing I heard when I travel is I'm always the only one in the room with a food allergy. I have a severe nut allergy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I have a shellfish allergy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because when I travel, they're like, only in America do you guys have food allergies.
Yes. So
I hear that a lot. I had 34 people in my yoga school. I was the only one there with a food allergy. Only one from the US as well. Only one.
I was dating a guy from Ghana. And he used to make fun of me because of my food allergies. He was like, what is wrong?
How you gonna shame someone?
Because they never heard of that.
No,
he was like, what do you mean you have food allergies? I'm like, I'm allergic to this. I'm allergic to that. He's like, I've never heard of that. He's like, I never heard of allergies until I moved here. Mm-hmm. But also another part of it has to do with the fact that most countries are out in nature a lot.
Yeah.
We're not out in nature like that.
No.
So that's another factor that and
we're not even out in the sun enough.
Yeah, we're not out in the sun. We don't get technically we don't get like the full experience we're supposed to get. Eating, I'm going to say this, being healthy is way more than just what you eat too. It's also about like your environment. It's about what you're ingesting like spiritually as well, what you're ingesting mentally as well. Mm-hmm. So it's way more because also I'm going to say this with my weight loss journey for me. When I started dealing with facing some demons in my life or facing some like old traumas in my life, that's when my weight would start dropping off.
Yeah.
That's when my weight would start dropping off.
If you look at my worst physique and my best, you know where I was mentally.
Right.
I guarantee that. Right. I guarantee that full-heartedly. And it's so interesting, cause right now I'm watching children in the school system. Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the American lunch.
It's horrible.
Scary. It's fucking scary. But part of that too is, we have Rockefeller who created the education system. Mm-hmm. The education system in this country is literally just to make good employees. Right. Mm-hmm. Come to school this time to this time, do your assignment, hand it in on time, eat some shitty ass food and go home. Mm-hmm. Right. We have orchestrated the education system to be constructed. We don't know how to deconstruct and expand. Mm-hmm. And that has a lot to do with the mental state, right? And the mental condition here. And the way, especially now with social media, I think it's just an echo chamber now. The way I could not imagine being a child right now. It gives me anxiety thinking about it.
I just want to shed some light on that. Yeah. So I have my oldest daughter. She goes to the daycare. Well, when she was in daycare, now she's in primary school. They were getting their lunches provided by the state. I'm like, well, my child doesn't eat everything on this menu, so can I bring it in or whatever? Mm-hmm. They're like, well, you can't bring in lunches. Like, I couldn't literally bring in a lunchbox with my kids' food. I had to get a doctor's permission saying why they couldn't eat what I'm telling them. And then I had to go and buy it myself, provided that it was sealed. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, like what? Like,
and you're right,
why is the country dictating what I want to feed my child? If my child literally doesn't drink milk,
right.
Why do I need to get permission from the doctor when she's my child? Right. And then I had to go and look for the milk that has the simplest ingredients. Like, I like to get the ones with like 5 the most. But, I don't always have that luxury because when you get those, you don't get larger quantities and then I have to keep buying it and it's more expensive. But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, and that's a lot of it is the way that we are constructed so young. And it's also like you have 30 minutes to eat lunch, like, you know, less.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
I can't even digest that fast.
Yeah. It's constructed so much in the education system, into the workforce. And you know, it just continues to get worse and worse. And, you know, like I've, you know, certain school systems now, like, for example, Montessori school systems are now doing things like where you have animals that you take care of. You learn about, like, you know, getting your own eggs and things like that. And I think
that's cool.
Yeah. And I think it's I actually nannied for kids and they did that. And it was awesome. They had plans that they would bring home. They never had homework because you just spent 8 hours in school today. You're not doing homework at home.
That's great.
Yeah. You know,
because that's mental stimulation right there.
And they were really healthy, brilliant, great kids. I used to have conversations I would have with like a 40-year-old. I couldn't believe their mental state. And that really is part of it. And, you know, there is no, like, for example, I've had clients that are like, I have depression severely, and I've watched them heal their depression, and that's when their fitness journey really took off. And that is such a damn correlation. I don't know how we haven't seen it, right? And even when I began to heal myself, I watched a lot of my injuries dissolve. I had a friend in yoga school, and our teacher, she was really funny. She was explaining she had knee pains or whatever. And her yoga teacher in India was like, tell your knee you love it every night. Something crazy like that. She's like, this is crazy, but I'm going to try it because I want to continue yoga. Right. She did it and it went away. So my friend was like, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to meditate, pray, and put in the universe that this hip is going to heal. She had a horrible hip. So she started to do that. And during one of our meditations, she went in such a deep meditative state. She realized that she's holding on to trauma she didn't even know. She was adopted. And the fact that she was extracted from her mother gave her hip issues.
No, yeah, because a lot of those,
she hasn't had issues since in 6 months. So it's things like that. Like we are so extracted from even thinking something, or like, right, we call it witchcraft or hocus pocus. Like, right? Do we not know that like these have been around for centuries, right? It's only like in the Western world that we have created this nuance. It's bizarre and it's insane. And it's devastating and it's damaging, to be honest. You know, I watch a lot of people struggle in this cycle where, okay, nutrition is horrible and it damages your mental health. Your mental health isn't great, so it's damaging your nutrition, and you can't go back and forth because your therapist thinks you should pop pills and like, you know, it's right. You know, and we give a lot of credentials and faith into the person in power and the doctors and the therapists, and it's really sad because they have manipulated and used their power, and it's also not always their fault, because we've been trained that doctors save lives, and they've been trained that in school. Right.
But it's all what's it called?
Conscious.
No, I was going to say it's brainwashing to think that that's what you're doing, when in certain cases you could be harming you because you're not even taking into the full scope of what the issue is.
And you know what sounds funny to me? Like, I've had doctors literally tell me like, oh, you have to have weight loss surgery, like, you know, today. But then I'm looking at them and I'm like, you look obese. Like, what are you?
I literally saw you smoking in the parking lot when I was parking my car to make your appointment.
And
but
it's just so funny because
I have issues.
They're so quick to be like, okay, this is the solution. Here, take this pill.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, but look at yourself. So it's like you're not even practicing
what you're preaching,
what you're like telling me I need to do, you know, stuff like that. So that's an issue for me. This is actually another topic we were going to talk about. Why we don't trust doctors. I don't trust my doctor to save my life.
I don't even have health insurance. I don't go to the doctor.
So like when you were talking about like the whole meditating and like telling your limbs that are in pain and trying to hone in on where the pain is actually coming from, it's essentially like what it says in the Bible all the time. Like, you're supposed to honor your body.
Honor your body. Your body's a temple.
Your body is a temple. If you're not treating it, if you're neglecting it at every point in time, like you're not listening. It's like a child in their
You know what self-care has become is seeking for outer things to fill inner.
Yes.
Hear me out, right? Instead of seeking inner to fill outer. And I will explain that reverse. So I want to this is my favorite on TikTok right now. I love this. So I want a self-care night. I'm going to take an Epsom salt bath that has all this fucking chemicals in it and let it soak into my biggest organ, my skin.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to put a face mask that has all this shit in it. Then I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream. Like, that's self-care. That is not self-care. Seeking outside things is not self-care at all. That is so damaging to your system if you think that's what taking care of yourself is. What taking care of yourself is going inside, dealing with trauma, dealing with wounds, dealing with anxiety, and going through work, right? I was really, really blessed to get to live 2 lives in one. My life before was not what it looks like now. I was really blessed because a lot of people don't have that awakening and don't get to do it. And the amount of self-work I have done is brutal, man. I mean, it's like walking through freaking fire.
It is.
But damn, that sunshine feels good. You know, like shit, darkness breeds creation. And I can't express that enough. And not once did I put a face mask on and my trauma was gone. You know, it looked like my eyes were swollen because I was crying so damn much. But you know what? I've become who I am today, and I've healed and I've restored. You know, and it's, you know, it's really sad that products and material, you know, we've attached to in such a damaging way where we think it's going to heal us, and it is what in fact is damaging us. And that's what I mean. Social media has become like people are always like, you're so into this stuff. Why don't you post more? And you know what I struggle with? This.
Yes.
This, because what, you know, I constantly am scrolling and it's like daily routine. And it's like, okay, that person is happy because they're living their life in that way. Damn. You want to know what built my happiness? A whole lot of self-work. And it was a lot of freaking crying, a lot of screaming. And it was freaking hideous, but damn, every storm comes before a rainbow, and it only comes before the fucking rainbow. And that's what it looked like, right? And so we have become, and that's what's like devastates me for these future generations is they are so obsessed, infatuated with what is on social media. You don't know what's behind that.
Yeah.
No.
You
and
don't.
even like speaking from us.
Yo, we laughing? I went through it. 2020, I went through it. Oh my God. I cried every day for
so much. To try to put our full story on, it's not possible. You can't
even put your full story on social media.
I can't even put a second of the story without, like, you know, this ain't it.
This ain't it. But no, it's just so funny because it's just like you're talking about the inner work, whatever. Like, shoot, I cry. It is ugly because I cried for.
But we're actually here to struggle.
Yeah.
You're not
it's
supposed to be going
be up
through
and
this
down.
life. Exactly. You're supposed to be going through this life with the hills, with the valleys, with the what is it called? The ditches? The ditches? Because if you're just literally flatlining, you're dead. Like Pastor said it this morning.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, right? Like there's a big difference between suffering and pain.
Yeah.
It is okay to feel pain. I don't know why we run away from it. Now there's a difference between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
You don't have to suffer.
You don't have to suffer because you're not learning. If you're steady in that suffering status, like you're just kind of like you're on the point of no return. Like you're spiraling. Yeah. You have to be able to, and I know that I struggle with this because when you're in the pain, you have to know why you're feeling this pain. Just like when you were talking about when you're eating, you have to know, like, am I digesting this properly? Is it hitting all the parts that I'm looking for it to hit? And if it's not working for you, leave it. Don't just keep like, I know it's supposed to be something I'm supposed to eat. It's like, no, maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe you can't digest spinach. I don't know.
No, and you're absolutely right. My biggest pains in my life have given me the greatest gifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am who I am today. Right. I have a master's degree. I ain't never going to use that shit. My master's degree,
at least you got through the masters.
It gave me a gift, my pains, that I can now use and echo and not just, you know, build security, but also help people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. We have also extracted, it's actually human nature to help people.
Right.
We've extracted
that's what we're here to do.
We've extracted that, right? And we've done it where it's like, what job can I get? What test can I score the highest on? What industry can I make the most money? Whatever, right? And we've completely separated from taking our greatest gifts and creating a career with it, right? Mm-hmm. We've completely reversed the cycle. And you know, and you're right, absolutely healing, holistic healing. Like when people do my program, they're like, "Oh, awesome! I'm gonna get into this nutrition program, and I'm gonna be shredded. I'm gonna have yogi abs like her." Right?
And it's much more than that.
Yeah,
it was way much more than that.
It was much more. It was diving into herbs and supplements and things like that, and then also meditating every day and doing these preventatives that you know really have saved lives, but also help in nutrition.
Literally,
right. And we could probably talk about this all day.
All day.
We could talk about this all day.
All day.
All day.
But we won't.
We won't. So what we're going to do right now is, first, I'm just going to ask one more question. So for somebody who struggles to make like better food choices and stuff like that, what do you think, what tips or advice would you give them in order for them to like pick that healthier choice or to get out of that cycle of like eating the same things every day?
So when you're struggling, right, it's really, really hard to switch over to consciously eating. It is, because you are deconstructing that something that, a theory and a thought process that has been constructed for so long, and everything broken seems ugly, but again, like when something breaks, it's time to incorporate new. Right. And explore new. Right. And it's not comfortable, man. Like newness is never comfortable, but it's beautiful and it's changing. And my advice is embrace the discomfort, right? I mean, as a yogi, I'm like, sit in lotus for 10 minutes. So I'm always like, embrace the discomfort. But, and that's what it is we're running from discomfort. Embrace that discomfort. Explore your body and learn who you are. Because you think you know who you are. You think you've hit that. I promise you haven't. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I was going to go through some really, really wild life changes in the past 2 years and I was going to find my higher self and going through it, I would have called bullshit. I would have been like, damn, I've been through enough. What do you mean? What do you mean we're about to rip this Band-Aid? What the hell? It ain't over. And at the end of the day, like, you have to change the love and value difference. That's really my biggest advice is if you love yourself, that is great. If you value yourself, start incorporating every ingredient in your life to be value, whether it's environment, whether it's people. Do you ever notice that when you change, your people change? That was the biggest thing, right? Like when I set boundaries and want to do things, my people change, my environments change, my surroundings change, my career change, everything changes, right? So, and that's food. And stop treating nutrition as if it's, in this physique manner. Like that is so damaging.
And limited.
Exactly. It's restrictive and begin to self-study, right? Like I drink herbal teas every night and I make my own mixtures with the herbs that I have. And I figure out like what works for me, right? And I love healing myself and it becomes such a beautiful thing and it's so damn empowering. Let me tell you, when you put it into your own hands and you empower yourself, when you heal yourself, it's just so empowering and it's so beautiful.
I agree with that.
And I think that there is so much more to life than reading a package that says 10 fucking calories and 20 grams of protein. I'm sorry. You ain't living.
I agree with that. What are your takeaways?
Oh,
or how would you say it? Well, go ahead. I don't know what I'm saying. Wait, what I was saying is what advice would you give to people like who wanted to live a better life or like have a healthier life? That's what I'm trying to say. Better relationship with food. Sorry, y'all.
Okay. Because if you want to live a better life, do it. That's
really like a better relationship with food.
If you want to have a better relationship with food, I think we definitely went and captured that. You have to get to the bottom of it. How you gonna know that you need a better relationship if you don't even know what relationship you're in? Right. So, like, why don't you figure out what you're in a relationship with? Why did you decide to choose this relationship? Figure out if it's, adding value to your life or not. And then, trial and error. Process of elimination. And I bet you, I will say this, there will be a lot of elimination when you... I know. There will be a lot of elimination once you decide to go and make your changes. Or if you don't, you're gonna be eliminated.
Right.
I think that's right? Like the storm that damages the path.
Yeah.
Creates a new one. Right? And that's totally cool. Like, that is fine. Yeah. Right? And you gotta embrace that.
There's gonna be a lot of number twos.
Number two.
God, man. Life is freaking hard. I'm not like one of those like hippie dippy.
Don't be afraid of that.
Life is a beautiful thing, man. Life's a bitch. Right? Like it is. It's hard. It's really freaking hard. But it's how you handle it.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's okay.
Right. And I was gonna say for me personally, like, as Mel, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what you said. Like, when you realize why you do certain things, like for me personally, I realized when I started like kind of changing my relationship with food, I started really consciously thinking, okay, well, I want something sweet and salty. why do I want something sweet and salty? Is there something more that I'm wanting? Like, or am I craving, like, am I angry? Like, what feelings are arising for me? When it also came to like something, I wanted something sweet. Like ice cream is my go-to when I'm really like, am feeling like I want comfort. And then it's just like, okay, well, Danielle, instead of eating this ice cream right now, why don't you call a friend on the phone and talk to them? So maybe that's what you need, is that comfort or that conversation. And when I had that conversation, and when I have that conversation, I tend not to want that ice cream anymore. I can't stand you.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. I cannot, because I realize what my needs are when you really kind of like reflect and go deep within. And I started journaling too. Journaling was like one of the best things I ever did for myself, because and also go back and read those journal posts, because you'll be looking back like, I was bugging. I was tripping.
It doesn't make sense.
Why was I stressing so much about this so little inconvenient thing? Like, it was just so dumb.
You're going to get through it eventually.
You're going to get through it.
So wait for it to pass.
My suggestion is just like, make sure that like anything that you're doing, set an intention for it. Really try to reflect on what you're doing before you put anything else in your mouth. Like, what, as Caroline says, like, what value does it add to you? I'm not going to say you're not going to slip up, because of course I eat my ice cream.
I'm in Jersey 1 week. You think I ain't going to get pizza? Like,
it's okay.
It's not like, that's fine.
But it's just like, you have to have a balance. You have to have that balance. And then you have to think of like, what's more important to you?
It's also balance on like the other end, because then like, for like the calorie obsessed, protein obsessed people, that's the problem, is that they have no damn balance.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
no balance.
You want to have that. I mean,
Yeah. So like, I'm just gonna say, like, just make sure, drink plenty of water.
Drink your water, y'all. It's never enough.
Drink plenty of water. Be mindful of what you're putting in your body, and just make sure that you're like, valuing yourself and valuing who you are, and like uplifting yourself. Whether that's like in your environment, the people you hang out with, and the food that you're taking in.
Right? You want to be the person. If you want certain people in your life, then you have to be that person.
Yep, you have to be that person.
And that's beyond just like romantic relationships.
Yeah, just in everything.
You attract what you are.
Yeah.
There's a reason why certain people start to be really shitty and disappear.
Yeah.
They got eliminated.
That's what I'm saying, girl.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having the show.
This was awesome.
This was a good conversation.
It was. It's like my favorite topic.
And so, as always, guys, you can follow us at Allegedly Credible on Instagram and Facebook. And we're also on YouTube. I think we can do handles now too, at Allegedly Credible. Yeah. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify.
All the podcasts.
Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to a podcast, you can find it.
Just Google us and find us somewhere.
Please definitely subscribe. Be on the lookout for more episodes, of course. And
be on the lookout for more events.
Yes, more events. Yes. More events. As you know, we had our Creative Hive event. We have our Holistic Haven event. And also, we plan on doing some more shows, coming up soon. And, if you want to give us a topic to talk about, you are more than welcome to do that. You can leave that on our www.allegedlycredible.com page, or you can DM us. So whichever way works for that.
Just find us.
Yeah,
we'll
just
answer.
find us. Just find us. And peace out, guys. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Hey, it's your girl, Lady Faye.
And your girl, Mel Supremo here.
And we just want to thank you so much for all the love and support for all the listeners that listen to us. But if you would really like to see us grow, we need your donations.
And you can send those donations via Zelle at allegedlycredible@gmail.com, or
you can Venmo us or Cash App us under Allegedly Credible. Anything that you could give us, we would greatly appreciate it. It's going to go towards some bigger goals we have.
Yep. Thank you so much, Credit Peeps.
Thank you.